people of the internet. It is I, Layla, your bookish bestie and vlogger extravagant. Today I thought that we would chat about the books that I read in March. Pull up a chair, grab a cozy blanket and a snack and a drink. I am trying this Alani. I have never tried them before. This is the flavor Dream Float. So let's see, let's give it a taste. I'm excited. I hear nothing but good things about Alani. I have a straw because I am that girl who likes to drink out of a straw. Oh, that's good. I also want to say that I love Fanta floats, and this tastes like a Fanta float. Claps all around for the Alani, the Dream Float Alani. Let me get my information up on StoryGraph. Oh girl, I did really good in March. Did I stick to my TBR hopefuls list? No, it was a mood reader month for surezies, but I did really well, like better than the other 2 months. I read 14 books and 6,520 pages. Here is my book stack. I'm gonna be quite real. It was a very like Kindle heavy month for me. How cute is this case, or like this Kindle insert? It's from Palm Creative Studio. I got this when I was at Romanticycon. I'm always talking about Romanticycon, but like it's because it's the best. I love this. I have another one. I'm thinking about switching it out, but I also love this so much. We'll see. Let's talk about the physical books first. I'm going to give like my rating and just my quick thoughts on them. The first book I'm going to talk about is the very much anticipated for me, Heat of the Everflame by Penn Cole. I rated this 5 stars and I absolutely love the Kindred's Curse saga. The way that this book ended on the cliffhanger that it did, I am not okay. Also, she is chonky. Do you see how thick this is? This was 848 pages. 848 pages. The fact that I read 14 books this month with a book this size? Stop. Wow. Look at me go, truly. I'm also gonna read you this back. Luther is one of my new book boyfriends, and you wanna know why? Here's why. Desire, he gave a dark, throaty laugh. Desire is a pathetic word for what I feel for you. I require you. I am sustained by you. You are the flame that fuels my fire. Don't you dare question that, not for a second. What I really loved about this book in particular, opposed to the rest of the series, is this really opened up the world. You got to explore the other realms, and it was just as great and just as terrible as you would think. I would say if you really love the world building in Onyx Storm, this is very similar to that. And again, that cliffhanger left me feeling something, and I need Burn of the Everflame. I am not impatient with authors, like you need to hurry up, I need that, but for this I might be a little bit. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Witch Collector by Carissa Weeks. I love this. I rated it 4.75 stars. I promised everyone I was going to read it after Romanticycon. I'm glad I did. It is rather short and it was a pretty quick read, and not even just was it a quick read. It was so fast paced. The whole span of this book takes place in like maybe 15 days at most. Another thing I would like to note is some of the romance takes place off page and we pick up and it's like a couple days later, and we've grown closer because it is an enemies to lovers book, but what the main character needs is time. But let me just say, I also love the FMC Reina. She is also unable to speak and she uses sign language, and I haven't read any fantasy novels or romantasy at all that have sign language in them, and this was so well done. We need more books like that. And then Reina in general is just a badass, simply a badass. I adore her and I cannot wait to read the rest of the books in the series. However, I believe the last one comes out in September, sometime in the fall time, so I'm going to wait to read some of the books closer to then so that they, you know, I'm not dying over cliffhanger. I definitely recommend it. It is so good if you love fast-paced books. If you want something with a more unique but like enemies to lovers plotline, you will definitely love this. This is going in like my top tier fantasy books. Next up, I had a couple buddy reads with my friend Audrey, and the first of those is Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher. I rated this 3.25 stars. The reason why I did rate it a little bit lower, this was almost, I'm not gonna lie, DNF for me. I found Gwen and Art really immature. Like, they bicker a lot like children, and like they are children, so like it makes sense. But as an adult, I am not one for bickering like back and forth. However, this had a lot of laugh out loud moments, and I really am glad that I stuck with it because I enjoyed it. I will say, if you enjoy like historical inspired pieces that are set with like a modern tone like My Lady Jane, then you will probably like this. I also think that this would make the cutest Netflix movie, or like, I don't know, maybe not Netflix, but you know what I mean. Some movie production company should make this into a movie. The next book that I read was also a buddy read with my friend Audrey, and it is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And I rated this 5 stars. Oh my goodness, you guys. I am not a literary fiction type of gal. I mean, I don't dislike it. I like pretty much every genre of book, but it's not what I like go for normally when I pick up. Like, my go-tos would be like romantasy, fantasy, and like contemporary romance. But this book really had me feeling something, and I maybe need to read more literary fiction and contemporary fiction. This story was woven together so beautifully with all the different POVs and like the story that it told. And there is a POV from an octopus named Marcellus, and I would die for this octopus. I love him. I have a video where I was finishing this book, and my reaction, I was just sobbing, and I need this author to write more books. This was her first book, and it was just so well done. So well done. Please read this book. Even if it's not your typical genre, I feel like this is a really good one that you should try. And again, I would die for Marcellus, no cap at all. The last physical book that I read is Realmbreaker by Victoria Aveyard. Now, I had like loosely started this and stopped this for the past month and a half. You guys, this was so fun. I rated it 4 stars. I think I said that, maybe not. If not, I rated it 4 stars. I will say this is heavy on the world building, like so incredibly heavy on world building. Did I know it was happening half the time? No. Did I enjoy it? Yes. This is a questy tale, and the author has described this as being inspired to write it after Lord of the Rings, and I could see that. I also love a questy tale. Like, questy tales are so fun. This was a great YA fantasy, and I will definitely be continuing the series. Next up, I want to talk about the audiobooks that I finished. So I finished 3 of them. I was doing my Throne of Glass reread, but with the audiobooks, and I did that mostly while I was either driving or while I was working, and I read the tandem read of Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. 5 stars, no notes. Throne of Glass is my favorite book series, and I've been wanting to reread it ever since I first read it. I wanted to do the audiobooks because since I've already read them, it's nice to do rereads through audiobooks because I can listen along. 5 stars, no notes. I absolutely love the tandem read, and Kingdom of Ash. You had me literally at work trying not to sob my eyes out. I don't know. And this Throne of Glass as a whole, like, I could probably make a whole video about this, or like I should do a video like separate to all this, like books that I love, like God tier books to me. But you know, I do have something fun to show you. So I went to the bookish shop here in Arizona, and I got something today that is Throne of Glass related, and it is like a bookshelf decor. How beautiful is this? It's gonna go with my Throne of Glass books. Goldrin. I don't know if it's gonna zoom in or like focus, but it says Rattle the Stars. I love Throne of Glass so much. It is tattooed on my heart and soul, and I will recommend that series to anyone. So yeah, just to recap, I read Tower of Dawn, Empire of Storms, and Kingdom of Ash via audiobook. Next up, and finally, we have the ebooks and ARCs section. I'm throwing them all and like lumping them together because of the fact that I read them all on my Kindle. So, you know, it just makes sense. The first book that I want to talk about, which I actually have the physical copy, which is the 4th book in the Dream Harbor series. I rated this 3.5 stars. Now, hear me out. Are these the best romance books you're ever gonna read in your life? Absolutely not. But if you love a small town, cozy, feel-good romance with like a lot of background characters that are like all close and like the town is close, Gilmore Girls vibe. Think Gilmore Girls vibe. This is your series, folks. This book follows Archer, who is a chef from Paris, and he moves here to take care of his daughter that he just found out about. So he ends up hiring Iris, and she is going to be the nanny, and of course they fall for each other, like, of course. And there is a lot of push me, pull me, like they want to be together, but she's like, we can't be together. Kind of annoying. I feel like it went on a little bit too long, but it was really cute, and I've really enjoyed the other books in the series, so this one was fun too. Now, the one I'm excited for is the next one, The Gingerbread Bakery, which follows Annie and Mac, who have been built up this entire time throughout all of the books. So their story better be fire. The next arc that I read is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez, and I rated this 4.25 stars. I love Abby Jimenez's books. There is a really realistic element to her books, if that makes sense. Like, she's very good at fleshing out her characters. I will say this is probably not my favorite book out of the Part of Your World series, because the other books had me sobbing and like just really feeling my feelings, and this one didn't as much, and it was a long distance romance, which there are not a whole lot of long distance romances out there, but this was a fun one to read. I loved Xavier and Samantha, but it also has some extremely heavy topics with dementia. Read this when you were in the right headspace. Next up, we have Riding the High by Paisley Hope, which is the third book in the Silver Pines Ranch series, which is a cowboy romance series. I thought it was all right. I rated this between 2.75 and 3 stars, and honestly, I'm leaning more towards the 2.75 stars. And I will say this, it started off not very strong after this relationship was like built up and hyped up in the first two books. I was expecting a little more than what we were given, and it also included a lot of tropes that I am not a big fan of. So for example, the MMC is a playboy. However, the MMC Cole has the cutest daughter, Mabel, and I love Ginger and Mabel's relationship throughout the book. That was one of the reasons that I kept reading it, because I love reading their interactions, and like you could see that Ginger and Mabel like really loved and bonded with each other. There's like a scene on a boat that is pretty much seared into my memory where it starts raining on a lake and Ginger gets them both to safety. It was just a really good moment. I love the bond that Ginger and Mabel had, and then they also had a garden that they were growing, and it was just so cute. I will say the end was also really cute, how it fell together in place. With that being said, I think that this is the weakest book in the series, and again, maybe it's just personal, because there was a lot of tropes that I personally didn't like. I will never not recommend people to read books, and I always want to talk about the things that I did love about a book, because, you know, something that might not be for me might be for you. And additionally, like, as somebody who potentially wants to be an author, like I have so many ideas and like stories that live in my head that I would like to put to paper, I just am intimidated to start. I don't want to like really bash any other authors, because it is so hard to even consider and like think about writing a book that, like, you know, what is my criticism? You know what I mean? I'm not a literary critic. I just like reading books, and I'm trying to connect with people who also like reading books. It does, again, pain me to talk about books that I didn't like as much, but I still gotta talk about them as somebody who read them. The last arc that I read this month is Worth Fighting For, which is a part of the Meant to Be collection. It is written by Jessie Sutanto. Sutanto, I'm hoping I said it right one of those times. If not, I'm so sorry. It is inspired by the story Mulan, and Mulan was one of my favorite Disney movies growing up. I loved Mulan. I was excited for this book. I also read Tangled Up in You by Christina Lauren, which is, you guessed it, a Tangled inspired story, and I loved it. I rated it 3.5 stars because there were some elements that were missing from the original story that made it so good. I feel like the characters were a little inconsistent with their personalities, how they were written in like different parts, and I just liked how in the original movie. There was like a little bit of back and forth, not really enemies to lovers, but the vibes, you know, the vibes of enemies to lovers. There were some really funny moments though, like there is a part where she goes to a farm after not working or being on a farm ever and says that she has all this experience being on a farm because she was pretending to be her father when her father had sent an email to these to the company that Mulan's family was trying to acquire, and she was like, yes, I am that person, even though she definitely wasn't that person. And it was so funny seeing her try to be that person. I also love her relationship she had with her parents and Mushu, who was her cousin, I believe. It was really good to read about. I love like good familial bonds in a story. Definitely recommend if you like the other books in the series, and I just love the Meant to Be series anyways. I love like a modern take on obviously Disney because I love Disney. I'm a Disney adult. Speaking of Disney, my next book that I read on the Kindle is also a Disney book. I read Wings of Starlight by Allison Saft, and this is a Disney fairies book. It is the story of Queen Clarion and the Warden of Winter from the Disney Fairyverse. And let me just say, I could not find this book anywhere, and it is like nowhere to be found. It's so popular. I rated this 4.25 stars, and this is exactly what I needed to read. It was so good. It is a story that I had hoped for and wanted to hear a backstory for a long time. I loved the Tinkerbell movies growing up, and this is one of the stories that like lived rent-free in my mind that I wanted to be told. And I'm so glad that it was told as a book because we get like more in depth in a book than we would like in a movie. But you know, just saying, if you love Tinkerbell, you love the Disney fairies, please read Wings of Starlight. In fact, I need more Disney fairy books, and I need more Disney fairy IP in general because I just loved it and it was the best, and we could always use more. Last but not least, I'm going to talk about The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. This was the last book that I read. I rated this 3.75 stars, and I know that may be harsh. I'm gonna get haters. I know it. The Mistborn series and the Cosmere and Brandon Sanderson are so huge, and I did like it. Hear me out. I loved Mistborn. The first Mistborn book was amazing. This book, I liked it, but I feel like it drug on forever. This could have been 100 pages shorter. There's gonna be a spoiler here, but Elend just repeated himself so much, and you're very philosophical, and I love that for you. And I love how you and Vin both love each other, but you can't, like, you don't think you're good enough, or etc etc. There was like a lot of back and forth where Vin and Ellen like were doubting themselves and their relationship, and I was like, you shouldn't doubt yourselves or your relationship. And then Brandon Sanderson kind of tried to do like a weird love triangle with Ellen's half brother, and I just didn't like it. It was giving Elena, Stefan, and Damon from The Vampire Diaries. That book also ended on an extreme cliffhanger. I wanted to read this and The Hero of Ages and then like 2 of the novellas from Arcanum Unbounded. I think that part of the reason that this was hard for me to get through as well is because the book is so long, and like looking at the paperback and the physical book, it does not look that long. And then like you open it up and like the words are small, and then you read it on the Kindle and then it's like 20 minutes left in chapter, and I'm just like, oh my god, like that is not my favorite as somebody who is a pretty fast reader. However, I will say that was like a lot of ranting, but I did really like the books and I do really like the series. I think I might take a short break though, because I definitely felt the book dragging and it led me to not want to pick up my Kindle, so I probably could have read actually more books had I been inspired to pick up my Kindle and not felt like slumpy. Because that's the other thing, like I don't know if I was just in a reading slump and just trying to force myself to read. You know, it'd be like that sometimes. I am unsure. So yeah, those were the 14 books I read this month. How many books did you read? And also, what was your favorite book that you read? And on top of that, did we read any of the same books? Let me know down in the comments. I hope you have a lovely day or night or whenever you're watching this, and I will see you next time. Bye, friends!